Hello there. Well, it's been quite a minute. So nice to be here in front of the camera. I am in Brazil. And, well, everybody around me speaks Portuguese. There are not very many English speakers. And so, well, I decided that it's about time I cut the camera on and talk to somebody, because damn. All right, now, on one hand, you have a lot of people in the world, in the media, on YouTube, who are suggesting that the world is getting worse, that we're in the end times. Everything's going to hell. They're about to bust up in your house. They're about to take your kids. They're about to shoot you all up with the vaccine, and you're about to get chipped. And the Democrats are about to just take over everything, and it's going to be world domination. And then on the other hand, well, you have people like me. What do we know? People like me and other, I don't know what you want to call them, thought leaders, philosophers, spiritual teachers, whatever you want to call them, saying that, we're in an ascending time, human consciousness is accelerating, and things are getting better and better and better, and we're moving into a wonderful world where things are just getting better, and it's far from the end. Well, who's right and who's wrong? What if I told you that, well, in this particular instance, nobody's right and nobody's wrong? Or shall I say that everybody's right, because the world that you experience now and the world that you end up experiencing, it just depends on you as an individual and how you're conducting yourself and how you're conducting your mind. Because in the previous 2 episodes of my series on this YouTube channel, The Fundamentals of Metaphysics, in one of those 2 videos, I mentioned that we don't really live on a little planet Earth. We don't live in one world, but rather we live in a space. For lack of better terminology, I'm calling it a space. It's like a quantum space. We reside in this space. And what we're all doing as individuals is, well, we are projecting, if you will, our own images, our own scenarios, situations, and circumstances onto the space. We're all projecting because, well, what do I always say? Your thoughts and your imaginal activity, that doesn't just dissolve. It doesn't recede into the past, but rather your thoughts and your imaginal activity proceeds into the future to confront you in the form of circumstance. You're always dictating, if you will, the course of events in your world by way of how you're thinking. We're always doing this rather consciously or unconsciously, and because most people unconsciously do this, well, they may experience the world, they may experience their life as being a phenomena that's out of their hands. Everything's just happening by chance, by random. And so it's easy to feel like a victim, and it's easy to feel like, man, life is happening to me, not through me. What could I do about it is what you should be asking yourself. Some of us know better. We know that we create our reality. We know that we determine our trajectory in life. And, well, hopefully we're doing our utmost to be a living example of what that is and what that means to the people around us. Well, anyway, whether the world is getting better or worse is entirely up to you as an individual. You see, check this. Our entire solar system is moving into, and actually this has been taking place for quite some time, several decades. Our solar system has been moving more and more and more into more subtler, less dense regions of space. Because you have this giant space, this giant cosmos, this huge universe, or shall I say, this vast, boundless existence. And within that, our solar system is moving. And within this space, within this trajectory that's set up for our solar system, well, is different regions of the space. And so for the past several decades, our solar system has been moving into more subtle, less dense regions of space where the subatomic particles in this region are in these new regions of space. And I say new for lack of better terminology. The regions have been here. It's just that our solar system is just now circulating back to these regions. And so for a lot of people here on the planet in this present time, these regions of space seem new. But as our solar system, and shall I say our Earth, moves into these more subtler, less dense regions of space where the subatomic particles vibrate more exotically, well, that has a tremendous effect. These particles, the way they vibrate, you can't see them with your naked eye. However, they are there. Everything is moving, everything is vibrating. And so these exotic particles, they intensify as time goes on because the solar system is slowly moving more and more into these regions of space. And so these particles, they penetrate, if you will, every single thing in our world, all matter, everything that seems solid, well, really, nothing is solid. So these particles, they infiltrate, if you will, the matter, and it has a tremendous effect on not only the things around us, but on our very physicality, on our very consciousness, has a tremendous effect on the way in which consciousness streams itself through our physicalities. And so, if we are relaxing into that and allowing ourselves to flow with it in a natural and harmonious way, then we're experiencing a wonderful time of basically no resistance. There's all flow. And these times seem quite wonderful for us. However, there are those who are resisting the natural flow of things, and these exotic particles, well, they are not aligning themselves with the frequency of these particles in a harmonious way. And so people are operating in a state of resistance. All right? And, well, it doesn't help that there are so many influences in our world, especially right now, just scaring people. You have the media, you have the news, you have YouTube, you even have people like me, not me personally, but people who claim to be empowering people who want to help and who want to benefit the world and offer something positive. You have such people here on YouTube telling you that these are just horrible times that we're living in, and that you better get ready because something crazy is about to happen and there's nothing you can do about it but prepare, and all this fear mongering. And if you're allowing yourself to be susceptible to all of that, rather it's coming from YouTube or the media or the news or what have you, then what you're doing is allowing these outside forces and these outside people to determine the images that you conjure in your imagination. And more than likely, you're getting emotionally involved with these images that you're conjuring in your mind, in your imagination. And as you get emotionally involved with these images, you are conjuring a very different frequency within yourself that is contrary to the high, fast frequency of these particles, these exotic particles, this exotic matter all around us, and you're not flowing very well in a favorable direction, if you will, so there is a splitting taking place, a splitting of the world, if you will. So, you know, it's very challenging to explain because not everybody is scientifically astute. But maybe you've watched a movie or you've watched a documentary or you've seen some kind of thing in science class where they are looking under a microscope and they're looking at, particles like cells or what have you. And the particle, as it's being observed under the microscope, it splits into two. One particle splitting into two particles, and then those two particles splitting into four particles, and then those four particles splitting into eight particles, and then those eight particles splitting into 16 particles, and then those 16 particles splitting into 32 particles, and then those 32 particles splitting into 64 particles. And I think you get my point. There are splittings taking place. Depending upon who you are, how you are within yourself, and what you're doing with yourself mentally, positive or negative probabilities are multiplying as I speak, as you watch, as we speak, as we live. Probabilities are multiplying on the positive side and on the negative side. And so the probabilities in which you are likely to experience are going to be the ones that resonate with how you choose to feel and how you choose to think on a moment-to-moment basis. When you think positive, when you imagine all the best for yourself and for your loved ones and for the people around you and for the world and as a whole, you are phenomenally enhancing the reality of all of that upon your trajectory of experience, if you will. I hope that makes sense. So as you focus on positive scenarios, positive outcomes, if you assume all the best, you are literally phasing yourself into a world, a space, a timeline, if you will, that's, in alignment with that, with those ideas, with that way of thinking, with those assumptions. But if you're living in fear, and what do I always say about fear? Fear is basically when you imagine what can possibly go wrong and then assume that it's going to happen. Naturally, if you imagine something that can possibly go wrong, whether for yourself or for your world, and then you assume or believe it to be the case, likely to happen, you're going to start to feel really bad, really negative. You're going to start to create a negative frequency within yourself that causes you to form resonance patterns with the negative probabilities that are always multiplying, predicated upon what you're always thinking. And so, rather the world is getting better or rather the world is getting worse, depends on you and what world you're choosing for yourself. Because eventually, we're going to all find ourselves on our version of Earth. Things are getting to a point where people who are too distinct in frequency won't be able to reside within the same proximity to each other. Slowly but surely, that's what's taking place. And so you have to choose your world, whilst at the same time being a living example for other people, to give them an option that perhaps they're not aware of. Because if I'm around a bunch of negative people who are afraid, I'm not going to say, oh, look at those negative people, those fearful people. I'm not going to condemn them or their state. I'm instead going to conjure or make more alive the contrary within myself, in order to demonstrate, you really don't have to be afraid. And in all honesty, there's nothing to be afraid of. Look at me, look at my life, look at all these wonderful things happening in my life and in my experience. Surely if everything you believe to be true was true, or if the world really is like this bad, how come I'm not experiencing it? Maybe you're experiencing it, maybe people you know are experiencing it, but how come everybody's not experiencing the same thing? you know? So there are options, and it's all about allowing yourself to think the way that you desire to think, regardless of seeming facts. You have to live from the inside out as opposed to living from the outside in. Because if you're living from the outside in, then you don't have control over yourself. Something or something else does. So you have to live from the inside out. Then you're free. You're free. And it feels so good to be free. I'm free. I've been enjoying my time. 2020 has been one of the best years in my life. And if I were listening to other people, then perhaps I wouldn't be having such a favorable experience. Because guess what? I just started Saturn Return. Saturn Return is this astrological concept where Saturn is transiting your birth Saturn, right? Anyways, look, basically, everybody experienced Saturn Return in their late 20s, 28, 29 years old. And so I'm supposed to be having a horrible time. They say Saturn Return is the most challenging time and everything goes to crap. Well, it's been the exact opposite. Man, I've been living it up, having a fantastic life, and I've been planning things for the long term. I've been making up my mind in a way that I never have before as to what I'm going to be creating right now that I can just continue to expand and build upon for years to come, which is why you all haven't been seeing much content from me on the internet. It's because I've been creating something absolutely phenomenal. And, well, I can't wait to share it with everybody. But I promise you, I'm not leaving YouTube anytime soon. I'm also on Instagram at Phase Into It. All right? So, well, actually, my Instagram might be at Arya Magi, my name, pretty soon because, well, I won't say that publicly because somebody might beat me to it. But, hey. Hey, man, look, this is a phenomenal time. All right? This is an incredible time. Now is the time to live. It's always the time to live. And you determine your world. Everybody in your world is subject to, well, your state of mind. It is your state of consciousness that determines the motivation of everything and everyone in your world, because there is nothing or no one that operates independently of you. It seems like you're an individual in this world all alone, but really you're not. Everybody's an expression of yourself and vice versa. And so when you change something within yourself, you also subliminally change something absolutely essential within everybody else in the world and everything else. You literally move into a different version of existence as you allow yourself to be a different version of yourself. All right? So I hope this video has been incredibly helpful, and I hope you've lasted this long into the video. If you have, congratulations, you have an attention span in the 21st century. That's an incredible feat. Leave a like on this video if you liked it. And, well, I've really enjoyed talking to you all this evening. And, well, you can check out the whole playlist. I'm going to put this as episode 3 of my playlist, of my series on this YouTube channel, The Fundamentals of Metaphysics and Spirituality. And by all means, share this with everybody you know, because we could all use a positive message here and now. All right? Elevate your state. Elevate your state. I'll be in touch.